Hi, welcome to Big Guy Boards. I'm Scott. I speak to so many beginner surfers that really struggle with learning to surf. They've in the process of giving up completely, or they've totally given up. They just don't enjoy the experience. When I speak to them, it's almost always for the same reason, and it's something that can be easily solved. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about that and hopefully get more people enjoying surfing. First, I'm going to talk about the potential problems people come up against when they're learning to surf, and then we'll run through possible solutions, how you can fix that, how you can have more fun when you're learning to surf. It's always advisable to get a soft surfboard when you're learning, a soft top, a foamy, a sponge board, whatever you want to call them. If you're learning to stand up surf, you want to get one of these. They're a lot softer. If the board hits you or hits someone else, they're not going to get hurt. It's not going to damage anyone else's equipment. So this is the kind of thing you want to be riding. They come in different construction methods, and that dictates how much they cost. And this leads us to our first problem. So this is the most basic construction method you can get with boards like this. This is just basically a single block of foam, one sheet of plastic underneath. Some of them have a bit of one or two bits of wood running through them in the middle to give them a bit more strength. But the main problem with these is strength and flex. So if you can see, these boards flex quite a lot. This is compounded massively when you're in the water, either paddling on the board or standing up. It flexes even more, and it's really noticeable. And if you're a heavier surfer, it makes a massive difference. So if you're lying down on the board as a heavier surfer, the board's going to almost have a banana effect, and there's going to be less of the surfboard in contact with the water. It's going to make it much more difficult to paddle. And that's when you're paddling around, when you're trying to paddle to catch a wave, because the board's flexing like that, it's just gonna make it much more difficult for you. The same when you stand up as well. The board flexes massively, and again, there's less board in contact with the water, and it's just going to make it much more unstable and not be as easy to ride the wave as well. And when you're learning, you want as much help as you can with catching and actually riding the wave. So the flex is really bad. The other thing linked to the flex is the amount of flex in these boards, in this construction, limits how long they can be. So these cheap construction boards, so these start at about £200, 200, 250. So the limitation is you can't go much longer than 9 foot with these boards. Even then, even a 9 foot one of these is much more likely to snap because of the amount of flex, which is bad. So it's not going to last as long. The foam as well is much more likely to get damaged just because it's a single foam block. The foam's just going to break up really easily. So that's a big problem as well, the durability. But because you can't go to a certain length, because of it being able to snap, you're not going to have enough volume or flotation in the board. So if you're 85, 90 kilos plus, up to however big, you know, I'm 105, 110 now, but even bigger than me, there's not going to be enough flotation in a board like this. One, to help you paddle, and two, to help you stand up. You need as much flotation as you can when you're learning, and these boards just don't do that. So the low end, the cheaper boards, just don't work with someone who's above 80, 85 kilos plus. There's just too many problems with this board, and that's why so many people are failing. So now we'll talk about the solution. I'm wearing a large mammal t-shirt. So I kept speaking to beginner surfers with the same problem. They're really struggling, they're not enjoying their surfing. They don't feel like they're progressing for the reasons I've just outlined. The board's way too flexy, or it just doesn't contain enough volume, it doesn't have enough float. So when people come to me, I always try and point them in the right direction. I say, right, you need to try this kind of board out. But I quickly realised there's nothing on the market really until you start looking at £600 to £800 foam boards, which a lot of people aren't willing to spend. There's nothing on the market. So I thought, right, I'm going to do it myself. So I designed this. This is the Goliath Soft top. So specifically designed for someone 85, 90 kilos plus. So I'll talk through some of the features of the board now. So this is some kind of rack. Opens and closes like that. This has got absolutely nothing to do with this board. Okay, so first I'll talk about the construction. So I've talked about the problem with too much flex. I wanted to use a more solid construction, especially for someone carrying more weight. You don't want any flex in any situation, especially when you're learning. I've outlined why. So this has a foam core. It has layers of 6-ounce fiberglass on the top and bottom. There's a foam layer on the top, and then there's the single layer of HDP underneath. We've also got reinforced kind of bumper rails here. So all this means, number one, the board's not going to flex as much, which is good, and it's going to make it much more durable. So the idea with this, I didn't really want to be designing a soft board that you're just going to end up binning once you've kind of learned on it. So this is something that you can keep. This has been my summer board at the moment. So in the UK, the waves are generally always tiny in the summer, and this has been perfect just to get out in the water and paddle around and have some fun. It catches anything and I love it. So it's the kind of board you'd want to keep hold of and not kind of get rid of. I'm also using it at the moment. My kids are learning to surf, so I take this down the beach. The kids jump on this, but I can also have a little paddle, and if there's any little ripples, I can have a little surf as well. So that's the thinking behind this board. I wanted something to last, as well as be durable and not have the flex. I talked about the length of a board. If you got much more than 9 foot, it's likely to snap. So this one is 9 foot. Just to demonstrate, it's hardly any flex there at all, really. So as I say, the board's going to last you ages. Right, I'll talk about a few more of the features now. One of the key things you want when you learn is stability. So when you're learning to stand up on the surfboard, you want it to be stable. And obviously this is compounded more. The heavier you are, the more you're going to be rocking and moving the board around. It's one of the key things that's going to stop that and make the board more stable is the board's width. So I'm talking about the measurement across here. So what that does, if I pick this up and try and demonstrate to you, is, there it is. Okay, so if you imagine you're standing up on a surfboard, if it's a really thin surfboard, it's going to do this a lot more, rock from side to side. More width you have, the less the board's going to rock in the water. It's going to give you a much more stable platform to stand up on. Now, it's a really fine balancing act getting that width right. If the board's too wide, you're not going to get your arms around it, you won't be able to paddle it, you won't be able to carry it. And if it's too thin, as I say, it's just going to rock all over the place. So we've experimented with lots of different widths with this board, and I've settled on 25 inches. That's enough to get your arms around easily. So as I say, I'm surfing this board all the time at the moment, and it's fine to paddle. You'll see in the footage. But it's plenty of width to stop the board rocking. It's going to give you a really nice stable platform, which is what anyone 85 to 90 kilos plus, in most other boards they're learning on, they're not going to have that stable platform. So that really helps. It's 3 3/4 thick, so a really decent chunk of thickness. It's 9 foot long. So what all these dimensions are giving you is lots and lots of volume, which is what's lacking in most beginner boards. So this comes in at 105 litres. So that's going to suit most surfers up to 110, 115 kilos plus, which is ideal. We're just going to have a brief interlude to talk about my t-shirt. Large Mammal t-shirts, yeah. So the guys at Large Mammal were on the Big Guy Boards forum. I really like the look of their t-shirts. They sent me a couple. I said, you know what? I'll show them on my channel. Large Mammal. There's also a built-in handle, which I didn't mention, so that's going to help you carry in the board with that added width and thickness. So just overall, it's a much stronger board, less flex. We don't want flex. We don't want flex. It's got the volume you need, so 105 litres, that's going to suit someone up to, 150, 120 kilos plus. You're going to have much more fun and have much more of a steeper learning curve on a board like this than something smaller or with weaker construction. So I've been surfing both boards. I got some footage just as a comparison. I surfed both boards on oh God, please subscribe. Yeah, I surfed both boards on the same day to give a comparison. This one paddles loads easier, as I've mentioned, as you'd expect. So you can see in the footage, when I'm catching waves on this, I'm just stroking into them without any effort at all. The pink board, I'm having to really scratch into the wave. A lot of times I'm not actually catching the wave. So that shows you it's going to make much more difference to you learning to surf if you can catch waves more easily. When you're up and riding, this just glides along the face of the wave. Something smaller or with more flex is just not gonna, it's not gonna keep you planing across the wave, and more often than not the wave will just pass you by, whereas this you can just stand there and it'll glide along the face nicely. The Goliath Soft Top is available at bigguyboards.com. At the moment I'm running a deal. I'm throwing in a set of fins with the board. Some soft tops you get come with a leash. It's usually like this, quite a cheaply made leash. It isn't going to last very long. And as I said, the idea with this board is it's built to last. It's a board you're going to keep. It's a board you're going to still use as you progress in your surfing. So as I say, I'm using it at the moment. It's my kind of go-to summer board. So I wanted to do a leash with the board that's going to last. You can use this with this board. This will also work with other boards as well. It's a really well made leash, the same kind of construction you'd get with a lot of the big brands. So I'm going to throw this in as well. So that's at bigguyboards.com. Large mammal. Large mammal.